Hello guys, welcome back. Another test ride today. Well, you can probably guess what we're on today. The Suzuki Hayabusa. So we're outside Doble Motorcycles in Causden, and we're going to test ride the Hayabusa today. The whole point of this video is to see if the Hayabusa is still relevant today. I mean, it's been out since 1998. So yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, I've owned a Hayabusa in the past. Fun enough, it was one I sourced for my father and then bought off him subsequently when he was finished. So yes, I've sold a few in the past. So I've ridden the Gen 1, Gen 2, this is Gen 3. So yeah, let's jump on it. You know, I like to do a ride first and then do the walk around after. So this is in a lovely white and blue. Oh, I do like the dash actually. So, let's do a little bit of housekeeping, shall we? 190 horsepower, 150 newton meters of torque, and around about 246 kilograms. So, yes, it's when it came out, we all know. I mean, anybody who was asked to name a Suzuki will say the Hayabusa. But yeah, part of me really wanted to see if the bike is still relevant in today's market, with all the type of bikes we've got, where we've got adventure bikes now that have got, you know, 160, 170 horsepower. You know, is there a real need to have a bike like this? So we're gonna see. But it's super smooth. I can't say I'm massively comfortable, which was one of my biggest worries at first, but we'll see if it grows on us. Yeah, so is the Hayabusa still relevant, or is it a bit like a comb over? You know, is it that one mate who, you know, he's a good looking guy and whatever else, but he's getting a bit older and, you know, he's losing his hair, but he's trying to hang on to it as much as he humanly possibly can. So he's doing all sorts of weird things just to try and cover up here and there and all the failings of the bald spots. That's what the Hayabusa sort of feels a little bit like that to me. I mean, that's going to really offend the die-hard Hayabusa fans. But why would you buy one today? That's the question. Is it a legacy thing? Is it because you had a Gen 1, you had a Gen 2, you know, and you're still in that sort of mindset that the Hayabusa is the go-to power bike? Because the reason you would have one of these when they come out, the Gen 1 bike, was bragging rights. It was to have the fastest motorbike on sale. And today, the Hayabusa doesn't really do that, does it? It's not the most powerful bike on sale anymore. And there are faster bikes. So yeah, its USP of being the, you know, the fastest absolute go-to for the most powerful motorcycle is lost. And a Suzuki just hanging on to it because, well, as we said earlier, name a Suzuki, well, you're going to go with Hayabusa. You know, nothing else is as, you know, rememberable as the Hayabusa. But obviously quite a few other manufacturers where they used to compete with this, like Kawasaki with the ZZR 1400 is no longer for sale. So yeah, I mean, other receding hairline motorcycles are taking their buzz cut. So should the Hayabusa? Well, we're going to find out today. It's a torque monster, I can tell you that. I mean, we obviously know that. I mean, my sort of reviews are real world reviews, so, you know, we're not going to be doing, you know, 150 miles an hour on a really lovely motorway in France. We're going to be doing, let's be honest, crappy roads around Croydon, and use the bike how we'd use any other bike. And is it usable? Or is it a status symbol that you have in your garage when people come round and go, oh wow, you got a Hayabusa? So yeah, this bike's got traction control, ABS and all that good stuff, which is what you need, really. But the thing is with the bike, because it's obviously 200, you know, nigh on 250 kilos, and you're a bit squatted over the front, on real world roads, it's not the easiest thing to handle about. So that's That's the gripe I knew I was going to have with the bike before I even got on it, to be honest, because it's not my first time on a Hayabusa. Gearbox isn't massively precise, but it's just not bad. It needs a bit of a warm up. I mean, when you look at the bike, it looks large and imposing, but when you're on it, it doesn't at all. It doesn't feel big at all when you're on the bike. So what's the use case for a Hayabusa nowadays? You know, is it a touring bike? I mean, well, I mean, you could tour on this bike. I mean, you could tour on any bike. Obviously, you know, if you're going to put panniers on it and all that sort of stuff, it wasn't really designed for that, but it will handle that. I mean, you do see people tour on them, but it does feel very sports bike, you know. I mean, years ago when you had the GSXR 1000 and stuff like that, that was the full-on sports bike, and this was a little bit more comfortable, but all bikes have got more comfortable now. So yeah, this is like a, you know, in today's standard of a full-on, well, is it full-on sports bike? It's probably a bit too much, but it is a very, very sporty riding position. The pegs are high as well. But yeah, you don't have the bragging rights anymore, you know. You have to buy a Ducati or a BMW S1000 if you wanted those sort of, or even the RSV now. It's one of those RSVs, puts out 220 odd horsepower. So yeah, gone are the days where it was Hayabusa v ZX12 and all those, yeah, those good times. But I mean, it was a different world then. People were buying sports bikes, so yeah, to have something a little bit more comfortable was like, well, okay, well, I can have all the power and more, but a slight bit more comfort. But yeah, in the, as I said, in the world of adventure bikes with big horsepower, and you know, is it getting a little bit lost in the ether? I don't know. But anybody who's, you know, ever ridden a motorcycle knows what a Hayabusa is. They know, and you know, even if it's still, I mean, I think you could probably say its reputation precedes itself a bit still, because obviously everyone still thinks this is the fastest, most, you know, crazy motorbike you can buy. So Suzuki have been doing major updates the last couple of years. They're doing software updates and colour changes, and that's about it really for the Gen 3. They haven't been going sort of overboard since they did the Gen 2 to Gen 3 when there was a massive overhaul. It's mainly a colour change and a few software updates. So yeah, I suppose it's a bit of a cash cow for Suzuki. But if I was riding now on, say, something like a Forza 750 or an ADV, then I'd be, you know, overtaking this traffic and making more progress. With this, it just feels a bit more, it just feels what it is, just a lot heavier, and the riding position isn't hugely comfortable. But I'm sure you die-hard Hayabusa guys would say, oh, we can get some risers, you can get this, you can get that. Well, or you could get a, you know, the old Suzuki B-King, that's got a Hayabusa engine, but they haven't made that bike for, you know, 15 years or even longer than that. So yeah, there's no real sort of, well, there is no naked version like there was you know, many years ago, but that wasn't a big seller for Suzuki. So I do like the dash, and it feels very at home on here. I mean, it's not been a revolution with the dash, it's been an evolution, which we like. We like familiarity with these sort of things, because you do feel like you are on a Hayabusa, which is what you want. I think there's a bit of an irony to this bike as well. Around the sort of roads we're going to be using it on today, there are so many other bikes that point to point I feel I could be a lot quicker on. I'm no racing, you know, I'm no racer, I'm, you know, none of that, but when something's more comfortable, it's easier to make progress on. So yeah, the irony is for a bike that was, you know, it was the, you know, the 200-mile-an-hour king and all that sort of stuff. Well, actually, point to point, there's probably bikes with half the horsepower I would be, yeah, quicker on, but, or even less than that. But yes, obviously this used to go up against the ZZR 1400, and the ZZR 1400 was then, to be honest, was considered the quicker bike. I mean, we're at such a, you know, much of a muchness at that point, you know. I think it had a couple of horsepower more, and you know, it was a little bit more aerodynamic, and then maybe had an extra 1 or 2 mile an hour top speed. But that's all you need to sell them, though, isn't it? Is you've got to be the fastest. Yeah, I can't say it's a bit of a wet handshake, the gearbox, in my opinion. I mean, this is a beautiful example. It's for sale at Doble currently. So if you are interested in a Hayabusa, I don't think you're going to find a nicer one, especially in this colour spec as well. So we go over some crappy bumps here. Oh, it soaks it up pretty well. There's not many people who deliberately ride over a crevice in the road for your enjoyment, guys. That's a good place to stop, driver. And I'm not going to go on the opposite side of the road. Here we go. You get people pull out with no indicators. Fantastic. But yes, would I say this bike is user-friendly? No, I wouldn't. No. Alright, let's give it a little bit of a blip down here. Oh my word, it's an absolute torque monster. Absolute. I mean, that's why you buy this bike. I mean, the other reason you buy this bike is because you know you're on something special. Like, you feel like you're getting strapped to a rocket. So if you like that feeling, that, to be honest, you're not really riding it, you're piloting it. I think that's the best way of explaining riding a Hayabusa. You feel like you're piloting the bike. I mean, there are other bikes, you know, even, you know, the H2R and all that sort of stuff that have more power than the Hayabusa. So, yeah, the Hayabusa has, you know, hasn't been the big swinging you-know-what for a good long while, to be honest. But it was obviously so good that people just consider it to be. So yeah, we're going to do some dreadful roads, and we're going to do some mundane stuff and see how we enjoy a bike like this on a daily basis. Because we can all get blown away by the marketing, right, of someone, you know, on an airport runway racing a fighter jet. You know, that's the sort of advertising these bikes tend to go for, you know. So all of a sudden we think we're Maverick from Top Gun, but then we get on it and go, oh well, yeah, we're going to go pop to Waitrose. You know, the romance and the reality are two very different things. But it's the romance of owning something like this as well. And then when someone asks you, what bike do you ride? You go, oh, Hayabusa. Oh, wow. I think that person's not messing about. So what we're going to do is, we're going to get off and have a good walk around the bike before we take it for a decent run. Because, you know, I like to have a bit of a walk around, so hold the line, callers. Okay, let's have a bit of a walk around then, shall we? I must say, I think this is the best colour it comes in. The white, pearl and blue. Yes, it still looks great today, doesn't it? I mean, obviously this is the Gen 3. I've had a Gen 1, I've sold a few Gen 2s. I mean, quite a few of the Gen 1 and Gen 2s have been sort of cannibalised for kit cars and all that stuff. So yeah, you'll find a lot of engines have been taken out of these for other projects, because they are great engines. I actually quite like the standard exhaust on this as well. I do like the rear end. That does look cool. That really does. This hasn't got the single seat hump with this one. This has got the pillion seat in the back, which would be quite comfortable for a pillion, to be fair. I mean, look, it's not massive, is it? It's not gold wing, but there is a grab rail on the back there, which is useful. The seat's comfortable as well, which is a big plus point. So yes, it looks the biz, doesn't it? It does look the business. So yeah, those big Brembos on the front. I do like the pearl on this. Yeah, you can't argue with the way it looks. But yes, it's not an easy bike to ride quickly point to point on these sort of roads. I mean, it's not really built for that, but the fact of the matter is, it's a motorcycle, and as motorcyclists like to use our bikes as much as we can, and we don't all live in the Black Forest in Germany, so you know, we have to do a bit of a real world analysis. And obviously, previously owning one of these, I can tell you it was was it a massively enjoyable experience? Well, yes it was, but yes it is. It's a bit like owning a really expensive pair of Church's shoes, you know, and then using them to go work in a factory, you know. It's a bit like that. It's a bit of a, there's a real time and a place for it, you know. That's how I feel with it anyway. You have to be in the mood for a Hayabusa. But yeah, those diehards who commute on a Hayabusa, I mean, they're the guys that need a knighthood. So yeah, it's a big bike, but it doesn't feel big when you're on it. Let's have a good look at the dash as well, actually, while we're here. You're not the poshest of keys, there's no keyless here. So yeah, there's the dash. So yeah, this bike's currently for sale at Doble's. So yeah, get on the website, doble.co.uk. Yeah, and yeah, if you're after one, this is a lovely one. It really is. It really is a nice bike. So yeah, I'm struggling a little bit with the use case for me for a bike like this. So get in the comments and tell me how you would use a Hayabusa and what you would do on it. Because that's what I'd be really interested to know. Because I can only talk from my own experiences, right? So yeah, it's not got oodles and oodles of tech on the bike. As I say, it's got ABS, traction control and all that good stuff, and it's also got launch control as well, which we won't be trying out today, I can tell you that. But yes, if you want to scare yourself to death, then a Hayabusa is probably still a fantastic way of doing that. So yeah, let's jump back on the bike anyway and take it for a bit of a longer ride on some sort of longer, straighter roads, and maybe do a bit of motorway work as well, just to sort of see how it feels on there. Because I remember taking the Gen 1 to go and see my mum was in hospital at the time. This was about 15 years ago, and at the time I had a silver Gen 1, and oh, you could easily just sit on the motorway at silly speed. You'd have to check what you were doing, because yeah, you could quickly lose your license on a bike like this. So yes, let's jump back on and yeah, we'll try and find some more positives with Suzuki Hayabusa. Righty tighty. We have a few errands to run. I've got to go to the post office. I've got to pick up something from the supermarket for the good lady. So yes, we'll be using this bike, as I always do. Exciting bikes in mundane ways. Okay, well, I've got some big Honda news. So, I did mention in the video previously that I'd spoken to Honda Doble and I knew there was a price increase, and I was told that there is news to go along with that, but I wasn't told what the news is. They weren't allowed to say, they weren't even allowed to discuss. They got all very funny about it, even if yeah, even I tried to push or prod. There was no way I was getting any information out of them at all. But yes, it's going live today. So yes, basically there's a price increase with Honda, and they're now giving a 6-year warranty with their motorcycles. I believe that's from all of the range, but you'll have to check that yourself. But I believe it is, the whole Honda range will be a 6-year warranty. So yeah, that price increase you can justify with a warranty like that, that's for sure. So yeah, massive news from Honda. I mean, to be honest, if you're going to give a 6-year warranty with something, it's not going to be rubbish, is it? Let's be honest. It's going to be something decent. So yeah, so brilliant news from that. I mean that's worth its weight in gold alone. So yeah, massive news from Honda. So yeah, I mean, all that information will be now live. So yeah, have a good look and a good read into it. It's still very early days from my point. So yes, very impressive stuff. Right, we need to get some petrol. This bike can get past anything but a petrol garage. Yeah. Oh, it's an absolute typhoon. stabbed rat is how the bike goes. It all of a sudden becomes a lot more comfortable at speed, because obviously the wind's pushing you back a little bit. It takes the weight off your wrists, so that is a plus point. So yeah, so the roads it's designed for, it's very good on. But yes, would you want one as a daily town commuter? Well, I think there's very few people in honesty that buy one for that anyway. So is it a fair test to say that? Well, maybe. Thing is, we don't all just use one bike to do one thing. It's not a set of roads that we just go, right, okay, well that's how we're using the bike, that's it. There's going to be times, and more times than we probably give credit for, where, you know, we are just doing the mundane stuff. I mean, when I'm sort of turning here, this is obviously not steep, but you do have to wrestle a little bit with the bike. It doesn't naturally just dive into a turn. I think the 0 to 60 starts with a 2. I think the top speeds are around about 190 miles an hour. Gearbox feels nicer coming down the gears than it does coming up. It's just amazing that we can still buy something like this in today's world. You know, that's the great thing. That the nanny state hasn't sort of stopped the ability to buy something as ludicrous as this. But yes, you have to govern yourself with a bike like this, that's for sure. There are no taking liberties. We're not going to go into all the waffle of why it's called a Hayabusa. So we know it was a bird that ate the blackbird, and that was what that was about years ago. So it's a bit of a cliche. I'm a bit bored of hearing that, actually, to be honest. Alright, let's put some of the good stuff in, some of the jungle juice. Ooh. Oh, like a puma. Do you know what a Hayabusa is? It's an event. Like, I was standing in the queue and I could see the bike, and I was thinking, yeah, I am excited to get back on that. It feels like, yeah, it feels like, you know, something special, because it is something special. So yeah, that's, I think, where part of the magic is, because you step back now and you look at this bike, you know, it looks the bee's knees, the cat's pyjamas. Yeah, see, that gearbox is a little bit, it's not the smoothest, as I say, a bit of a wet handshake. Right, let's do some motorway on the bike. We're not going to do a massive ride today. The whole point of this was just to see if this bike was still relevant in today's world. That was the whole point. And the jury's still out, so yeah, we need to take it on a bit of a longer ride just to see. Well, as I said previously, there are bikes with a lot less horsepower that are a lot easier to ride quickly. It's a bit like using a sledgehammer to open a walnut, you know. Oh yes, it opens the walnut, but you know, it's in a million pieces and you've smashed up the table at the same time. So that's a bit like what a Hayabusa is, which is kind of the appeal, isn't it? It's the ridiculousness of it. That's what we all like. The pure nonsense. It is growing on me. As I say, I've not had one for a few years, or ridden one for a few years. But yes, if I was a bit more supple, it might be a little bit more comfortable for me. But I'm a moaner anyway when it comes to wrists and back and stuff, so it definitely turns in a lot easier than the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. The centre of gravity feels a little bit more where it should be. With the Gen 1, it felt so slow to turn in. Yes, it was a whopping great 1300cc engine, and yes, it was rapidly fast. But yeah, it did feel like a dinosaur by today's standards, one of those. And that was even then, that was a few years ago, so the mirrors aren't bad, you know, they're not They're not giving me absolutely everything. They are set to my needs as well, but yeah, they're not massive. I definitely wouldn't want to commute on one. Massive pothole, massive pothole. See, these are the roads I take you on, guys. Quick shift, quick shift, quick shift, quick shift. That quick shifter's nice. That's a real nice bit of kit. I do love a quick shifter. Let's get out the slow lane and get in the go lane. Oh, absolute talk on tap. Talk of the town. Ho-po. Yeah, on the motorway it's quite comfortable. It's way more at home here. The thing is, if you're doing a trip away to Europe, you're going to be honest, really stay off of motorways. Yes, you're king of the swingers on it, but you'll find that if you go away with a few people, they tend to, or I tend to, want to put in non-motorway routes. And I think if you're, even with your friend who's got a BMW GS that's a few years old, I think he's going to probably, or she's going to be, yeah, making progress in a lot easier way than you probably would on a bike like this. But I'm only speaking from my own riding standards, right? So could I see myself with a Hayabusa in the garage? Years ago, yeah, because I like the bragging rights of having one, but I've grown up a bit since then. That was a good few years ago, and yeah, it's not for me nowadays, but I can see the appeal. And yes, it's still incredibly cool, and that's why they still sell them. And let's be honest, it's, you know, even if it was a bit of a loss leader for Suzuki, I'm sure they still sell them just for the reputation of the Hayabusa, right? Because, you know, if you're trying to think of another range, you know, Suzuki in the range, you know, nothing springs to mind as quickly as a Hayabusa. The fueling is lovely. You can make some serious progress on this. I am having to really use a lot of restraint right now because I just want to absolutely pin it. So yes, it eggs you on. The Busa's naughty like that. This is where this bike makes sense. Empty motorway like this, and it's just gone. So yes, it's an event bike. It's a bike, well, we're going to do this or we're going to go there. We've got the route planned out. But me using it for a post office run and as a daily bike, no. We had someone up our chuff there, so... Mate, get back. You get people like this all the time. That's the problem, right? You have a Hayabusa, everyone wants to race you then. We've got some bloke in an old van with some alloy wheels on it, I can see, because I just saw him come around the corner, and stickers all over it. He sees a Hayabusa and he wants to race it. So yeah, he's quickly dealt with, but yeah, infuriating. So we'll block him off from coming there. Yeah, so you have to give him the hand to slow down to get out of our chuff. So yeah, I find that with certain bikes and certain cars, it's a bit of a red rag to a bull with some people. They see a certain type of bike, oh, I'm going to race that. And it's never anybody in something nice or special. It's never a guy in a GT3 RS that would want to race you. It's always a guy in a crappy van or in a Citroen Saxo or something like that. It's, yeah, I suppose they haven't really got anything to worry about if they smash up their £500 car, I suppose. But yeah, it's annoying. But there you go. So yeah, another bit of a negative there. But again, it's its reputation, right? That's what's so cool about this bike. Alright, so I have some errands to run, lucky me. I won't bore you and take you to the post office and to Waitrose, because nobody wants to do that, do they, really? He's still trying to come up my chuff, this guy. But luckily, we're more sensible than to fall into that type of trap. So, have I enjoyed the Bussa today? Yes, I have. Brings back a lot of memories. Is it relevant today? That's the question that we wanted to find out, right? You know what, I'm going to wimp out on this answer a little bit. I'm going to say that's subjective to what you want to use the bike for. For me, no, it's not. But for you, you know, and you are doing these long rides out and you're only going out for a day or so, and you've got beautiful long sweeping roads around you. I don't know where those are in the UK, so if you could point me in the right direction. I know I'm going to go NC 500 and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, but we don't all live on these sort of fantastic beautiful roads. So yeah, look where I am now, you know, like by Croydon, you know, and this is how I've got to ride a bike if I want to have fun. There's not always a trip, right? I like to do things, you know, mundane things on exciting vehicles or exciting bikes, you know, and this is where this comes in. So yes, I think in summary, I think, not to use a too crass of a term, but I think owning a Hayabusa is probably like dating an exotic dancer. All your mates will go, oh wow, that's amazing, mate, that's incredible, but yes, maybe things might be a little bit more high maintenance than you let yourself in for. So on that note, I will leave it there, but I have enjoyed the Bussa. So yeah, get yourself on doble.co.uk website, have a look at their used bikes, have a look at their new bikes, and put in the comments what you'd like to see me test ride. Hopefully something a little bit more comfortable next time, because we all know I'm getting up there in the years now, in the wrong side of 30. Or we can say I'm 20 plus VAT. Let's go with that. And I'm underselling it a bit there as well. But there you go. This bike doesn't overpromise and underdeliver. So from that term, yes, it's great, but the market's moved a lot. So I will leave you with that, guys. But I've loved it. I shall see you in my next video.